Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our how-to series, Turning Advocacy into Action, Season 2, Episode 2, Committees of Congress. My name is Faisal Solman. I am part of the Government Affairs team here at SVA. Just hang tight. We're just having some technical issues, so I'm going to turn off my camera and turn off my mic. Thank you for everyone joining so far. I'll let everyone trickle in. All right, everyone. I think we're back. We should be good to go. Um, and we will get started. I'm going to turn off my camera, or I'm going to switch over to the slide deck, make sure it's working. All right, we're good to go. Good afternoon again. Welcome to our second episode of the How To series. Today will just be just me. Tammy's out of office currently, and let's get the show on the road. Thank you all for registering. Again, if you have registered, you'll be getting a link to the webinar slide deck after this and the recording as well. So thank you again. So just a little brief rundown for today. We're going to do some updates from the Hill. We're going to delve into congressional committees, and then we're going to go through some guest speakers. And then we'll round off the presentation with little question Q&A. All right, so what's going on the Hill? The House Veteran Affairs Committee, they had a markup on May 14th. With this whole list of bills on the screen, it's a long list. I'm not going to bother reading through it. However, the one highlighted on the screen, HR 5436, the N transcript holding for Veterans Act, that is a bill that SV has supported. It is also listed in our statement for the record. If you click the hyperlink, it will actually take you to the congressional bill page on congress.gov. And if you are wanting to read through our full statement for the record on that bill, it should be on our website on the Government Affairs page. If not, send me an email and I'll gladly send it over to you. May 20th, tomorrow, the full committee will be having another pending ledge hearing. Again, it's a lot of bills. I think it was slated for 20 or so bills. There are 4 on the screen here that are highlighted in yellow that SVA has supported, and we are writing a statement for the record on. HR 6843, establishing the Veteran Affairs Economic Opportunity and Transition Administration Act. HR 210, the Dental Care for Veterans Act, and HR 4114, the eVest Act, and then HR 1391, the Student Veteran Benefit Restoration Act. if any of these bills actually sound familiar, and anyone has been attending our webinars, these are actually the same piece of legislation from a House Veteran Affairs Committee hearing back in March. Now, the House Veteran Affairs Committee, they decided to do another hearing on it, allowing more testimony from VA as well as certain VSI groups, one of which is actually will be joining us later on this call. On the Education Workforce Committee, there was a full committee hearing, I apologize, on May 14th, where Secretary McMahon, she got to explain the policy priorities of the Department of Education. She was then being subjected to questioning by members of the House. The Senate actually had their version of the hearing some weeks prior, so now it was on the House turn. Speaking of the Senate had a pending ledge hearing on April 29th. On the screen, Senate Bill 3591, the Thomas M. Conway Veterans Access to Resources in the Workplace Act, is a bill that SVA is supportive of. We wrote it in our statement for the record. On May 13th, there was a full committee hearing, also at the SVAC, protecting those who've served, a review of the police operations, and then tomorrow, later in the afternoon at 4 p.m., Secretary Collins, on behalf of VA, will be attending a hearing explaining the budget and advanced preparations for 2027 and 2028. So, beginning our how-to series, we are back on the infamous congress.gov page. And today, as you know, as the title, we are going to be breaking down into congressional committees. So how do you get there? On congress.gov, on the top right corner, there is a button or a link that says committees. Click that link, highlight it in this box, and it'll take you to this page. Now, there are several different types of committees. I'm only going to be focusing on the ones at the top under the standing committees area. Now, standing committees, they're permanent legislative panels, established by the House and Senate rules. An example, House Veteran Affairs Committee. Another example would be the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee. Special select committees towards the bottom here, they exist usually to conduct an investigation or certain study. They're just kind of in the background. And lastly, we have joint committees, which are not on the screen, just something we don't really interact with much, and they're also far and few between. They're permanent congressional committees that includes members from both parties, also for studies or housekeeping tasks rather than actually considering piece of legislation. A fun committee that I always like to point out is actually the Joint Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. So every time there's a new election, there's a new inauguration, and these committees help assist with that measure. So right off the top, I'm going to be going through like a little deep dive, not even a deep dive, like a surface level touch on all the committees from the previous page. There are committees that exist on the House and Senate side in some shape or capacity. They're kind of similar, but they're not the same. So, for example, here in the House, there's a House Agricultural Committee, and on the Senate side is the Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee. The Senate version is more expansive, but pretty much both of these committees, respective on which side they're on, Senate or House, they oversee matters relating to the nation's agriculture and farming industry. Next, we'll be going on to the Appropriations Committee. So we bring this up time to time in our webinars, but these bills, they regulate the expenditure of money by the United States government. So when it comes to appropriating funds for the upcoming year for any programmings by the United States, this all goes through here. So when we talk about the budget, this is the committee that handles that. Next, we'll be going on to the Armed Service Committee. This committee oversees Department of Defense, Department of War, and its various components, including the Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force. One of the major pieces of legislation that actually comes out of the House version would be the NDAA, also known as the National Defense Authorization Act. The Budget Committee, on House Committee on Budget, And the Senate Committee on Budget, they oversee budget. The Senate, they actually draft the budget and monitor action relating to it. Appropriation kind of decides like how much goes towards it. So it's a slight different distinction, but just something also to know. On the House side, you have the Energy and Commerce. You also have the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Versus on the Senate side, you have the Natural Resources Committee. Again, just relating to anything natural resources related, public health, commerce, just all lumped together. On the pages, on the screens here, also on the slide deck, there are several screen grabs. Feel free to go through the committee website, through congress.gov, and navigating them all. Each website has their own way of organizing the material and obviously with their own different missions within it. So here on the Senate, you have the Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. They have pretty much all jurisdiction over legislation matters relating to banking, price controls, monetary policy, also, as the name entails, private housing and urban development. Something we don't really get involved with, but again, if we're just trying to explore what different committees exist and what they are, this is it. Committee of Ways and Means on the Senate side. The version would be the the Finance Committee. Goodness gracious, there's so many words on the screen. My eyes are blurring. It's actually the oldest tax writing body in the entire U.S. House of Representatives. It helps shape fiscal legislation involving taxes, tariffs, social service programs. Senate, on the other hand, they actually deal with more taxation and revenue measures, as they have the power of the purse. Here, Foreign Affairs, Foreign Relations Committee, as the name entails, oversees legislation regarding impact of national security developments, regarding foreign policy, so war powers, treaties, any executive agreements, military deployments, foreign assistance, arms controls, so on and so forth. On the Senate side, authorizing and overseeing foreign aid programs, arms sales training for allies, and holding confirmation hearings when it comes to high-level members of the Department of State. Homeland Security, as well as governmental affairs, oversight over Department of Homeland Security for both. Here, Judiciary Committee, they oversee the administration of justice within the federal courts, agencies as well. The Senate actually oversees the Department of Justice, including nominations and any pending legislation field that may be necessary. The Rules Committee oversees how bills are presented in their respective chambers. The Senate version oversees also the administration of congressional buildings and any contested elections. Small business on the House side, also known as the Small Business and Entrepreneurial Committee on the Senate. They oversee and provide any legislation jurisdictions over the Small Business Administration. Senate side is a little bit more different because it also does entrepreneurial matters, anything also relating to research and investigating any problems that may come arise. On ethics, multiple House issues across various topics, gifts, travel, financial disclosures. This committee actually doesn't exist on the Senate side, but the Senate actually does have a special committee relating to this matter. Transportation and infrastructure, also a committee that doesn't necessarily exist on the Senate side, only on the House side. But again, anything related to air, water, rail, road, travel. I'm going to kind of show, again, you may have seen this in the past on our previous webinars of what the Veteran Affairs Committee pages will look like. Some of the other committees we've also been working with, I will highlight in brief, Armed Service Committee, Ways and Means out of House, Education and Workforce, Health, Education, Labor, and Pension, also known as HELP. So just for brevity, House Veteran Affairs Committee, when you click on the previous page here, when you click one more, Veteran Affairs Committee on the left side, it will take you to the following page here. At the top, you have an option to see the committee schedule. And you can do this for every single committees. So I think only in this slide deck, I'm only going to be showing a couple of them. But once you can click the committee schedule, a little pop-up will pop up on your screen showing that any scheduled hearings that the committee may have this week. So I'm going to click it, and this will pop up actually for tomorrow, the date, yep, May 20th, 10:15, pending lunch hearing. All the pending lunch hearings, or all the hearings that I mentioned early on in the presentation, I want to say on slide 3, 4, and 5. This is how I got the information. You can click in the details to learn more. Pop quiz. Sorry, make sure everyone's engaged. So the House Veteran Affairs Committee, they have 5 subcommittees: DAMA, Economic Opportunity, Oversight and Investigations, Health, and then Technology Modernization. Which of those committees is involved for the readiness of our veterans relating to employment benefits? We'll give it like 10 seconds because this is the quiz from last year. So I guess anyone that attended last year is kind of cheating, but it's okay. And if you answered it, the answer is economic opportunity. It's a committee that we've most often worked with in the House Veteran Affairs Committee. And if you got it right, woohoo. And if not, it's okay. This is what these quizzes are for, and this is what my job is here, is to help educate. So going back to SVAC, click that button. It will show here on May 20th. They have a hearing. Again, this is what I mentioned earlier on, so I'm not going to go much into detail. Again, all the committees on that page, you do the exact same thing to figure out what Hill meetings are going on. If you are in the DC area and you want to attend, make sure you show up on time. Arguably, you should show up early because some of these hearings are very packed and they're in a very full room, and it is very hard to get seating. So anyone that will be at the hearings tomorrow, I will be there. Same with the House Armed Services Committee. They have a hearing also tomorrow at 10 o'clock where they actually will be going over the Air Force's budget request for 2027. The Senate Armed Services Committee, they have a closed hearing also to do the same thing, and future programming on Thursday at 9:30. And that is a wrap up of our how-to series just going over the congressional committees. Today we have Gabby Kubini out of the VFW to talk a little bit about our VFW SVA Legislative Fellowship. Alongside, we also have Kimmy Kim and Sarah Lively, one of our 2 most recent fellows in the program. I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick, and I'll have them introduce themselves and talk about the fellowship. Gabby, off to you.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, well, I'm going to be a little informal because we're a small group here, and 4 out of the 5 of us know all about the fellowship. So, what to say about it to people who just went through it? It is really, the goal is to continue the friendship and the partnership that VFW and SVA has had since the beginning of SVA, and giving student veterans across the country a way to learn more, to come to DC, to be involved and have their voices heard. So we had a great year this year. We had some great feedback. We're looking to just switch some things up next year. We'll see how that goes and what that turns into. And, highly recommend it for everyone to come and get a taste of what working in DC and working in advocacy and getting more involved in your community this way looks like.
Gabby, actually, this will be a question for Sarah and Kimmy whenever Kimmy comes back. what have out of the most recent fellowship, what did you do just to enlighten the people who may have registered and will be watching the recording later? What did you do this year? You muted, Kimmy.
So when you ask that question, are you asking in terms of locally or during Capitol Hill or both?
As a fellow, both.
Okay, so this year I think I got plugged into the VFW in my area where I'm now this like during announcements or discussions I will just read off the action alerts, and actually they did something for me, which was like nominated me for Woman of the Year, which was a great surprise. Yeah, and it was awesome. I got to meet the congressional staff, Lou Correa, and so I think that's what the whole fellowship was about, for us to incorporate ourselves in the local area where we don't have to fly all the way to Capitol Hill, which you'll be doing tomorrow. So that's just a stepping stone in itself for me being in California, Orange County. And so that's the building block that I'm trying to build in my post. And so that's the first steps for me at least. Yeah.
And for me, I was already engaged in the VFW at some level, not only within my local area, but within my state, and starting to navigate the national organization from the fraternal perspective. But I was looking to get more engaged from the legislative perspective. And it worked out that the research that I'm doing at school just happened to parlay right into some of the veteran affairs bills that we're working. And so when this fellowship came up, it allowed me to bridge that gap and move it from just I'm just a bill conversation with Schoolhouse Rocks to actually walking the halls during WashCon and seeing, and talking and doing all the things that you just don't get access to every day as a citizen in your community. So it was a great experience to the exposure component of that as well.
So there was one statistic I was told when I went back to school recently for my master's, and it was that there's thousands of universities and colleges in our country, but only about 20 of them pipeline students to work on Capitol Hill. So that's a massive amount of people who never come close to getting this chance. And that's what we want to do, right? We want to make sure that people understand that they can walk into the halls of Congress and to give that experience, because it does translate back to your local situation, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and I want to
So,
chime in
go ahead, Kimmy.
really quickly with what Gabby had said. That's exactly where this platform had brought me to. It kind of elevated this whole walk that I was on, because unless you go through this fellowship, you really don't know, because you're kind of like a pearl in the sand. Like you can't really be standing out unless you experience this, and then you realize when you come back to the school systems, like everything and anything needs advocacy for veterans, because there's so many different variety of veterans that each one of them belongs to a category that needs advocacy. And it's like there's so many that the school systems only have like an advisor and a SEO, and they're so limited into what they're capable of doing that they're already experiencing burnout. So when you're given this opportunity to advocate, it's like a whole new dimension. And just having that knowledge going back into like a work study, you're able to like bring them out from this long line of never ending waiting and be like, hey, let's redirect you to Student Veterans of America. Get a Google certificate while you're waiting, instead of like, getting frustrated and, getting annoyed and, wasting your money and, whatever. So while they're waiting, somebody else might say like, oh, I want to get into this. Hey, look into the scholarships, get into the LI. And so that's how this whole like networking has been going. And if I feel like somebody's complaining about the system, and I'll be like, hey, do you want to advocate for it? And so they're like, no, I don't want to advocate for it. I want to go to Las Vegas. And I'm like, you should link up with Team RWB. They have a 5K running going on this weekend, as a matter of fact. So it's kind of given me the empowerment to be able to actually reach out because I feel like I have something to offer, instead of being like, I'm not sure, or like going on the bandwagon of like, yeah, you know what, they suck. Instead of doing that, I'm like, well, let's try to figure out how we're gonna, not make it suck. So it's been a
No,
really
I'm glad to
delightful
hear that.
experience for me.
Because what, Gabby, we're in what year? We're coming up on year 15,
12, I think.
14, 12, somewhere around
14?
there of the fellowship.
Somewhere.
I don't know. I feel like there's so many numbers around, so I just get lost. But yeah, so like, I mean, we've seen this fellowship change so much in the beginning, where fellows they would come up with the legislative idea of their own, right? And then as years went on, new ideas became far and few between. So all right, let's pivot this, let's make it work, and let's just find legislation that both VFW and SBA both support. So that's how you both, the fellows here on this call and anyone else who will be listening, that's how most likely the program will go again. We're going to be picking a piece of legislation that VFW and SBA both support. Once you apply for the fellowship, please apply. Applications will be opening in a couple months, maybe even sooner, just depending on timeline. And if you're selected, you get to be advocates. Not that you need to be part of the fellowship to advocate, but being part of the fellowship to advocate is great because you get to come to LI, you get to come to NatCon, come back to DC again for our Washington conference. Be plugged in with your local VFW post. Be even more plugged in with the SVA chapter. I mean, Kimmy, you've done such a great job just now, like plugging all the amazing programs that SVA has, but then also just like sharing that idea of empowerment that you can do it. And again, like once you're done with the fellowship, that doesn't mean, you're done being an advocate. So, yeah, thank you.
I
Gabby,
would
is there
say
anything to
that
add?
too. Yeah, like part of this is like the advocacy for veterans is where this starts for people, where it pulls them in, right? Because that's what you're dealing with in your life now. But all these skills can continue to be used, right? It's advocating for your health care, it's advocating for your kids, it's advocating for your parents, it's advocating for your public library, it's advocating for your local police force, whatever it is, whatever comes up over the course of your life, these skills you'll still have and they won't go away. And that confidence, right? Because that's part of what I love seeing about this, right? I love seeing when you guys show up and you're stuttering and you don't know what you're doing and you have the look of fear in your eyes, right? But by the time we're done, you're standing straight, you're talking loud, you're projecting, you know what you're talking about, you know who you're talking about, you know why you're talking about it. And that voice goes for everything in your life, right? Once we learn that we have that worth, and that was like one of the most crazy things for me when I first moved to DC and started doing this was like talking and like people nodding and listening. And I was like, they're they're listen wait like like people listen what. And like over time that's what that allows you to stand up in a meeting and bring up the thing that nobody's talking about, right? To bring that group that has been forgotten, and to know that when you raise your hand, whether it's a Zoom or in a in-person meeting, that what you have to say has merit and has worth and is going to be a good addition to whatever conversation you're having. And that's why, like, the preparation that you're given during this fellowship is what will get you there when you're done and through all of that practice.
Sarah, would you be able to share some of, I guess, your experiences with the fellowship back in Nebraska, and I guess like how your journey has shaped where you are now? Congrats also on defending your study with getting your study approved with IRB.
Yeah, so I did just get my IRB approval and I'm working to research veterans and self-efficacy and chronic pain. So super related in this vein as we're talking about advocacy on the Hill. But even just locally, much to what Kimmy's already said, it has empowered me to be informed. As we see in the VFW, we have the hashtag still serving, and that's great. I go out and I help my community. We clean up yards, we do food banks, things like that. But this brought another perspective of that still serving capacity because now I can see legislation, the wickets of how it's happening, and now I'm getting engaged in a form capacity. I can do some self homework at home. I go to my congress.gov, like you were saying. I can look at some of these things, and it moves the conversation a little faster because now I'm not having to do so much inquiry up front in the investigative component of that, like just interviewing with different legislators in the area, senators, congressmen, mayors, et cetera, you name it. But now I can do some homework, which many of student veterans are accustomed to anyway. Very self-serving, very, motivated. And that has moved me even into working now at the department level within the VFW and now being the women's advocate for this next year and working specifically on women's issues and bringing people out and again, empowering them to bring their voice to the table as well. So it's one of those putting your hand out and pulling people up with you components. So yeah.
And that's what I
Thank
love
you all
about
so
this
much.
too. Sorry, just one, like it's
No,
that,
you're good.
right?
We
Like
have
the
technically we
bringing
have
people
28
up.
minutes left on this call, so
Yeah, it's that. Like it's bringing more people into, our government, the way it works, our role in it. And the more we can be informed about that and feel good about our participation in that, the better we'll all be, in my opinion.
I guess any final thoughts to the hopeful next class of VFW SVA fellows? Words of encouragement,
I
telling them
would,
to apply.
yeah, I would highly encourage everybody to apply. What's the worst they can say is no, not this year. Because I think even though we expressed what we got out of it, I think it would be different from fellow to fellow. So manage your expectations, apply, and then kind of be open-minded when you walk in. And some of the stuff you're going to receive just because it's part of the programming, and then other things you might take you on different tangents. So have an open mind as you're applying. And I think everybody can benefit in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I think different cultures, organizations are able to build trust and repair. So don't underestimate your ability. Just do apply and see where it can take you. And if you don't get it the first time, why not apply the second time? And just because you don't get it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to make an impact. Still do, be involved in your VFW post and keep doing what you're doing and make that difference one step at a time.
So I should mention that I don't actually have an SVA chapter that I'm affiliated with, and so it's been super um, I don't know what the words are, but it's been nice to be welcomed into SVA as a student veteran, even though I don't have a direct affiliated chapter. And so I guess I would also say that to students who may be out on the fray and don't have an active chapter or somebody in their local area, that SVA is for everybody. VFW is a little more limited in the membership just because of the nature of what it is, but that does not mean you can't get engaged. So if you don't know, ask the question, get involved.
We should start a virtual
Uh,
SVA club.
well, we are looking to have more online engagement with our online students. I mean, as we know, um, student veterans taking online classes are a thing, and as like Sarah just mentioned, not everyone has the ability to have a chapter. Just it could be a matter of resources at the end of the day, as everything is. Money is the thing that controls how much or how little of a campus life you can have. Um, Gabby, would you be able to share or just speak on the requirements of the VFWSB Fellowship? I know this is all going to be on the website anyway once applications are out, but just for anyone listening on the recording.
So really, you need to be VFW member eligible. If you don't know if you are, it's definitely worth asking. I am not a VFW member. I'm an auxiliary member, and to get auxiliary membership, it was I had to find an article about one of my husband's deployments, the membership department did a whole thing, and that's how. So you might not know off the bat if you are. So definitely find out if you are before you walk away from applying to this fellowship. So VFW membership is a part of that. And then you do need to be a student veteran. And then we're looking for people who are engaged. There is no minimum GPA, right? Like we're not like if you don't have a 4.0, you don't come in. This is about developing the future talent. And that's not always, I mean, you only not want to see my transcripts from my undergrad. It was not pretty. I will show you all day my transcripts from my master's degree. No problem there. But that's, don't discount yourself because maybe you don't have the highest, the best GPA. It's the heart that's important with this and the desire to want to be involved and make a difference. So we'll ask for writing sample, we'll ask for video for in the application. It'll be online. You can fill it out all there. And it really is just being a VFW member. And you don't even have to already be a member. You can just be member eligible and then become a member for the fellowship and stay forever because many people do. That's also what's really nice about VFW, right? Like this is the beginning. It could be a beginning of a relationship that could last forever. We have tons of people who grew up in the VFW because their grandparents were there. So that, we don't want to see that change. We want that to maintain our relationship with all of our members, especially anybody who's done these fellowships with us, and be able to move forward again, like Kimmy, like Sarah, right? Like, where are they going to be one day, Commander, right? And be our boss here in DC for a year. So it's really, I can't stress enough how much we put into this because we also really care. Both VFW and SVA really care about making sure that the next generation understands the importance of this work, knows how to do this work, whether it's federally or it's locally at home, in whatever way, you feel like you can make the best difference. So go apply, come on down, show us what you got, and then we're looking forward to a really awesome next year because we had a really great year this year.
Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Kimmy. Thank you, Sarah. Also, if that was a Price is Right reference, I would like to say on the record, I did understand it. Just saying. Um, Javier, Ty, thank you for joining us on the call here. If you have any questions about it, you're more than welcome to unmute or put in the chat also. I don't think I have many slides left. Let's see if Fisher's just. Yep, this last one. If you have any questions about the fellowship, about anything SVA, VFW related, feel free to reach out. Tammy and my email are on the screen there. So is our phone number. You could call it, but I'm not as responsive because it goes through Teams. But if you email me, I will definitely see it. And for anyone online watching the recording, whenever this is posted in the next, I don't know, couple days, please reach out. Be on the lookout for when the application opens. On our social media, we will be advertising it more as we get closer. And oh wow, Javier, did not know that. That's awesome. In the chat, anyone that can't read it, Javier used to work for the Office of the Senate Sergeant at Arms from 2018 2020. For anyone that attended our webinars, our very last episode last season talked about that very specific opportunity. So be involved, stay connected, and farewell.